It's time for local stories from across the East. Local food. Local fashion. Local businesses. This is your home for local. This is the East's Daily Download on Eastern North Carolina CW.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Hello and welcome to the East Daily Download. My name is Mark. I'll be your tour guide on this adventure across the East. Hope your day's off to a great start. It is Monday the 11th, better known as Veterans Day, a day that we celebrate and honor those who honorably served in the military during war and peacetime. Obviously, Eastern North Carolina is rich in military tradition, and we want to make sure we honor that in this episode. Let's get right to it today. Let's take a look at what's on today's show. We head back to Plymouth in this week's Livin' Local. We'll have not one, but two Veterans Voices in honor of Veterans Day. We visit the food bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina. And if all that wasn't enough, WNCT 9 on your side anchor Ken Watling joins us now as we get started with this week's People and Places, where he visits the Aurora Fossil Museum. Let's get started.
If you've ever been to Aurora, it's likely you've spent time here.
People love this museum.
The Aurora Fossil Museum.
It's kind of like a rite of passage for a lot of the local and regional people. It's a unique museum.
But why fossils? According to the Smithsonian, Eastern North Carolina is one of the richest fossil locations in the world.
The fossils were discovered as a byproduct of digging and mining for phosphate. There's a rich phosphate layer under our feet, so the neighboring phosphate mine would unearth these fossils.
And some of the leftover dirt from the mine comes here.
I think we are the only museum in the United States that has a museum directly associated with the fossil hunting area. So our visitors can come in, learn about the past, learn about the rich fossil history of the area, and then dig, interact with science, and dig for fossils that they get to keep and take home.
Sometimes those take-home fossils are quite rare.
Megalodon tooth.
How long did it take you to find it?
Ooh, about an hour. Had to dig pretty deep.
Shane Sykes and his family are here from Jones County.
Oh, we love it. We love it. Family comes here quite often and enjoy ourselves. Yes, sir.
And every time you come, do you find something kind of like this?
Something kind of like this. This is rare. I mean, you'll find teeth all the time, mostly small, but this is what makes it worth it.
Worth it indeed. Unfortunately, time and Mother Nature have taken its toll on the museum.
Hurricane Florence was kind of like the trigger that started more damage.
And earlier this year, they called on the public to dig in and help keep this piece of ENC history alive. A fundraising campaign brought in more than $20,000 to go towards repairs to the roof, which happened in May. Just one way the museum's fans are making sure the facility's future is rock solid.
I think it's a place that Aurora can really grow from. As a museum grows, hopefully the town can grow and it can draw more people to Aurora.
Watch your local WNCT 9 in your side news on our live stream on WNCT.com or on our mobile app.
Welcome back to the East Daily Download here on Veterans Day. We hope your day is off to a great start so far. Veterans Day was originally titled Armistice Day in 1919 that helped recognize the ceasefire and hostilities of World War I, but later became Veterans Day. So we're going to have more veterans' voices for you coming up in just a little bit, but right now what we want to do is head out to the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina to highlight and showcase the great work that our organization does. Let's take a look.
I'm George Young, Eastern Regional Director for the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina, and I'm responsible for the Greenville and New Bern branches. The Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina covers 34 counties, and the Greenville and New Bern branches are responsible for 10 of those counties in a service area providing food for families that are food insecure. We have a great history at the Food Bank in that we have been part of the community close to 40 years. Here at the Greenville branch of the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina, we're really proud to be able to partner with community partners like Vidant Health, where we work with them for their Vidant Health medical food pantry, where food is being prescribed as a medicine to get food to people who are food insecure, but also the right foods that people need to help alleviate their medical condition. This branch, matter of fact, started with Hurricane Floyd in 1999 and was on the front lines providing food to folks who are experiencing food insecurity, and many thousands of pounds of food were brought to the area by the food bank and distributed to families who had been flooded, businesses, homes, communities. Hurricane Florence really created a lot of devastation to the area, and this branch, along with our sister branch in New Bern, covering a 10-county service area, provided over 10 million meals to the community in response to Hurricane Florence. So we have a great relationship with our first responders, our agency partners. We're talking about the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, and many outreach ministries, churches, and nonprofits who have registered with us to be food pantries, and we work with them on a weekly basis to distribute food. The Greenville branch, just in this last fiscal year, has coordinated the distribution of over 10 million pounds of food, and our New Bern branch distributed over 8 million pounds of food. So we're not only grateful for the food that people present, but we're also grateful for the financial gifts that come our way. Because really it's not a matter of food, it's a matter of food distribution and the cost of that distribution with our trucks, our warehouse operations, and getting the food into the communities where it's needed.
36 years ago, 273 U.S. Marines died in a violent bombing that took place at the headquarters of the U.S. Peacekeeping Force in Beirut. Many of the victims were from Camp Lejeune and known residents in the city of Jacksonville.
I remember all the names on the wall. I remember the families and the people. I remember what they stood for.
The families, friends, and even survivors of the attack came together again for the annual observance.
From that point on, heard the explosion, everything went black. The next thing I knew, I was buried alive.
Retired Marine MC Dorsey, a survivor of the bombing, traveled from New York for the observance.
When I came to, I was calling out my friends' names. I was calling out Manley, Spalding. I didn't get no response from Spalding, but I did from Manley.
Dorsey said through the darkness and rubble, he and Manley continued to talk until they were discovered. Both men were housed in the building blown up by an Iranian national suicide bomber.
I didn't find out till I was in a hospital in Cyprus that the barracks had been blown up, and the loss of life was, tremendous.
And difficult to find out who was wounded or killed, according to General Alfred Gray Jr., who was the 29th Commandant of the Marine Corps and in charge when the bombing occurred. He attended 160 funerals of the men he lost 36 years ago, while he was stationed at Camp Lejeune.
Before this happened, Jacksonville was just another town or city, and the Marines were just another base. After it, now we're as one.
Gray says it's important to realize these American heroes did not die in vain. He says what the country took away from the bombing medically has saved thousands of lives of servicemen and women since then. For Veterans Voices, I'm Kayla Schmidt.
We are back here on the East Daily Download. It's Veterans Day. We're celebrating all show long. We hope your day's off to a great start so far. A quick reminder how you can find the show, WNCT.com under the Download tab, where you can watch this or any episode. Also, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the East Daily Download hashtag. You can also email us at download@WNCT.com. We'd love to hear from you. One other great way to get this show is the WNCT mobile app. Go to the App Store or the Google Play, download it, and you can watch on the go wherever you are. We have a tab right there, and it's great. Check it out. We highly recommend it. Okay, still to come today, we are going to have another Veterans Voices. Well, let's take a look.
It's the final resting place for more than 400,000 service members and their families. But with 25 to 30 military burials a day, space at Arlington National Cemetery is running low.
Today we have less than 95,000 spaces.
Karen Durham-Aguilera is executive director of the cemetery. She says there are plans to break ground on an expansion project to make more room,
which will give us around 60,000 new burial spaces. So it's going to make a big difference.
But expansion alone won't meet the demand for more burial space, and officials say they're considering changes to burial requirement.
It's a hard reality. We're focusing on sacrifice, those that gave the ultimate measure of devotion, gave their lives.
The proposed plan would reserve below-ground burials to those killed in action, Purple Heart recipients, and prisoners of war. But service members who die on active duty but not in combat would no longer be eligible.
40% of our members, roughly, will not be eligible.
Miles Migliera is with AMVETS, one of the nation's largest veterans groups. He says while some are disappointed, his organization believes the cemetery should do whatever it takes to remain active.
This has to continue to be sustainable.
So we want to be available for both our current veterans and that 5-year-old who's going to raise his or her hand one day to serve this nation.
The proposed changes will now begin the federal rulemaking process, which includes a public comment period. Officials say it's an important part of planning for their future.
My name is Sarah Connor. August 29, 1997 was supposed to be Judgment Day, but I changed the future, saved 3 billion lives.
It's been 28 years since Linda Hamilton played Sarah Connor in Terminator 2, but she was reluctant to return to the role.
Well, it took a little work on their part to bring me back, because I just was not really sure that I had anything more to say, and it's been 28 years. But after careful consideration, I went for it.
Sarah! I can see you're very upset. It was fun working together again. She raised the bar so high. In 1991, she was the best female action hero.
And this is all over, I am going to kill you.
I understand.
Joining the cast are Mackenzie Davis and Natalia Reyes, who were both very excited to work with Hamilton.
That day, her stepping out of that truck we had to keep starting again because she was smiling so much, and then we were smiling off camera, just so excited to see her. But it really felt like this big, iconic arrival.
This time around, Linda gets to say Arnold's iconic line,
"I'll be back."
But it wasn't so easy to pull off.
You can't say it without sounding like him. It really was almost impossible to say it after 3 decades of hearing it in your head with his voice.
I think it was great. Then I found out that she actually worked on it to make sure that she could say it in a different way.
I'll be back.
Now downloading Medical Minute.
A new study from the American Academy of Pediatrics suggests the number of kindergartners not getting vaccinated for what parents describe as religious reasons appears to be on the rise. Religious exemptions claimed by families jumped when personal belief exemptions were eliminated. 45 states permit religious exemptions to school vaccination laws. Doctors strongly support vaccinations for children. New research presented in the UK indicates a simple blood test may be able to detect breast cancer up to 5 years before there are any clinical signs of disease. The test screens immune responses to tumor cell substances. Researchers say a blood test could provide non-invasive and cost-effective early detection and would be an easier screening method than mammograms. And a new study in the journal Pediatrics highlights the shortage of child psychiatrists in much of the country. Researchers say that despite a rise in the past decade in the number of child psychiatrists overall, 1 in 5 children still live in a county without one. Those are some of the day's top health stories. Kenneth Craig, CBS News, New York.
Now downloading Living Local.
It's hard to drive through downtown Plymouth and not spot the Roanoke River Lighthouse. Many are familiar with the lighthouses that stretch up and down our coast, but there was a time when river lights were just as important to sailors. This lighthouse is actually the second of 3 built in the same spot on the Albemarle Sound.
The first one of this one caught fire after being out there about 7 months, and the second one,
it survived, like Linda said, to about 1885, and then it was lost to an ice flow, and the last one came in and was built, served until about 1950s.
The current day Roanoke River Lighthouse is actually a replica of one that was farther downriver back in the 1800s. It was one of over a dozen in the Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds that helped light the way for sailors along the Inner Banks.
There was a tremendous amount of traffic that came in and out of here.
I always call it Highway 64, 1885, particularly in the fall with all the crops coming off. This was a very active town.
What once served as a navigation tool is now a beacon for a small town redefining itself as a destination.
It's ingrained in me.
Of course I know what the themes are.
Entertainment tonight, that's what people want.
It's hard to think of entertainment tonight without.
Oh, I know it!
I mean, come on, since I was a little kid.
This is Entertainment Tonight. This is the Bible of show business.
The East Daily Download is all about you. It's about local stories featuring local businesses. If you or your business would like to be featured, contact the sales team at WNCT. And be sure to watch new episodes weekday mornings at 7 on Eastern North Carolina CW. Now downloading Southern Stars.
We're in the Danny Talbot Cancer Treatment Center, and we're here today, ladies and gentlemen, to make a very special presentation. It's to Mr. Mike Bowden. Mr. Mike, I'm David Sawyer from WNCT 9 on your side.
David.
Sir, we are here today to honor you for being a Southern Star. How about it for Mike?
As a former caregiver for a cancer patient and his family, Mr. Mike's genuine compassion for all patients shines brightly.
I lost my wife to stage 4 lung cancer. She had everything else done over here at Nash.
Okay.
She loved the people. She loved the environment. She felt like family, and the quality of care was just superlative.
When somebody's gone through
what he's been through, so he sympathizes with us, and I think we know that.
When he comes in, it automatically makes you feel better. He is wonderful.
I'm fortunate and privileged to be able to volunteer here 2, sometimes 3 days a week.
Great.
So I'm a little more visible, which is, I think, the reason that I'm getting the award, but it could have gone to any of the 12 volunteers that we have over here.
I'd like to congratulate you on behalf of Southern Bank and offer you this $100 gift card. I'd like to thank you for all the bright things you do to make our community so much better and put a smile on everybody's face.
Well, thank you so very much.
Indeed, absolutely, and that is wonderful to know. And if you know someone in your community making it a brighter place, make your nomination as well. Go to WNCT.com/stars.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the East Daily Download. Not only are we celebrating Veterans Day, but we're celebrating a birthday that's near and dear to everybody here on the cast and the crew and the East Daily Download players. Lauren Pate, everybody. Happy birthday, Lauren. Come on in here. Veterans Day, baby, that you are. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lauren. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you.
And
this is the cutest cake.
I know. I don't want to
So
drop it.
cute.
You
Yeah,
take
don't drop
that.
it.
You take
I'm gonna
that.
eat it. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Pickles! You know, pregnant ladies love pickles.
And why would you care?
I am expecting.
What?
So
When did that happen?
yay.
Okay. What else?
More pickles! Yay!
There might be a tie-in to later in this week with those pickles.
Well,
Be
good luck,
watching.
because
That's
I'm
a
taking
DT.
these home.
Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow here on the East Daily Download. Bye-bye. Tuesday, when we hit the road for the next edition of the East Daily Download, we'll go behind the scenes of the new Eddie Murphy movie, My Name is Dolomite. We have part 2 of our interview and profile of the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina. And we're headed to Buzz Coffee in Greenville for this week's Down Eats. So join us Tuesday for an all-new The East Daily Download on Eastern North Carolina CW.